Tricycle Thief is the first segment of the third episode of the third season of Rugrats, and we're definitely into the episodes where I'm really starting to remember specific things from my childhood. Because this episode I did recall, and it doesn't surprise me because it's a good episode with a couple of good messages in it. Susie gets a new trike. I have to say it looks great. They must have had a lot of fun creating the design of this trike. It's got all kinds of bells and a pinwheel for some reason. Is that a thing on trikes? I don't know. And it's a really beautiful bike. And Angelica, being Angelica, kind of just makes fun of it, says it's not very good, obviously because she's jealous. And the next thing we know, Angelica has a trike that's basically identical to Susie's, and Susie's trike has gone missing. Needless to say, everybody blames Angelica, and I don't want to say exactly what happens, just in case you haven't seen the episode or you can't remember it, so I'll discuss how the narrative unfolds and ultimately what happened with a spoiler warning in a moment, but just a few thoughts. To begin with, Chuckie's Chuckie's comment, "I put a penny up my nose once," is so random, so adorable. Nobody asked him for that information, and it was just so cute. I absolutely loved it. We also have a punishment where, because Angelica is not owning up to stealing this trike and is saying that her father bought it, Susie has tied Cynthia onto the end of Chuckie's balloon. I love Chuckie's balloon. It's got a very simple design. It's a little rough around the edges actually, but it looks like a tooth. He got it from the dentist. No information about how scared Chuckie would have been at the dentist. I feel like had he just come back from the dentist, he would have been a mess, but we'll ignore that. And Susie ties Cynthia to the end of this balloon, obviously threatening to send Cynthia up into the sky as Angelica's punishment. And there's this one point where Susie tells Chuckie to let go of the balloon, and he does it. He immediately grabs onto it afterwards. This happens several times, but there's one point where it happens where Cynthia's not on the end of the balloon. They just forgot to animate Cynthia on the end, and then about a minute later, it cuts back to Chuckie and Cynthia's there again. But it just amused me. It was just something that I noticed that was a bit of an error, but it didn't bother me too much, of course. These things happen. And I guess I'll discuss now what happens and what the main messages are. So this will be a spoiler if you don't remember what happens with the narrative. Personally, I thought it was obvious what happened, or, well, not what happened, but where Angelica was coming from. But I don't know if that's just because I remember the episode. But spoilers from now. So the main message with this episode is, well, it's the story of the boy who cried wolf, kind of. Angelica always lies. So the one time she's telling the truth, nobody believes her. And as I said, I kind of knew immediately that she was telling the truth, but that could just be because I remembered the episode. I'm not entirely sure. But that's the main message. But the other message is that you shouldn't really accuse somebody without solid evidence. But at the same time, in Susie's defense, it did seem like all of the bike thief pointed to Angelica. She had an identical trike. And the only difference was the non-smashed headlight, which, as Susie said, she could have gotten it from somebody else's bike, and the red paint on her hands as well. But it did amuse me when one of the babies said, or it might have even been Angelica, somebody said, for all we know, Susie's trike could be under the porch, and Phil or Lil was just like, yep, there it is. It just amused me how blunt everything was, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good episode. Doesn't surprise me, I remember it from my childhood. And the story of the boy who cried wolf for Angelica, and not accusing people without solid evidence for Susie, definitely are some very, very important messages. And I think this kind of thing would happen in real life as well. You know, for when I was younger, for example, there would be various crazes like skipping ropes. I remember a particular skipping rope that had like glitter and liquid inside of it, and quite a lot of people got that at the same time. So this kind of thing could definitely happen there. I don't think I ever had the same bike or pogo stick as somebody else, but these are things that come in waves, and children often have the same or very similar items because things become popular at the same time. Or, of course, one friend. Can we call Angelica and Susie friends? I feel like they're frenemies more than anything else. But one person might get something new, another child might suddenly think, ooh, I want that, and get it as well. So it seems like something a lot of children can relate to, with some important messages about how to handle this situation. But watching it as a grown up who doesn't ride tricycles, I just thought it was adorable. And apart from the missing Cynthia, very well done.